Good morning, good day. How you guys doing? James here. This interesting video I saw for a couple of content creators, and it talks about people and what they, particularly people, black people and other people, what they experience, and with being around predominantly a lot of white people, and how some black people have been conditioned, some felt like they've been conditioned, that they've been whitewashed to see that there's no racism. But I'm going to let it first start with this one video, then I'm going to go to another video, then I'll make my comments afterwards and tell you about my experience that I can relate to what they're saying.
In general, don't assume you want to be white, okay? Remember that not all people... Vice is the dumbest news source ever. If you are a full-grown adult and you get your news from Vice, let me direct you to Stupid Town, because that's where you belong. Take a look at this. This is Vice's bio saying original reporting on everything that matters. Let's take a look at some of this original reporting. Vice has come out with this banger tweet: 100 ways white people can make life less frustrating for people of color. Can I just instantly say this phrase is so annoying, okay? Stop saying people of color. I've kind of like been forced to say it because I don't know what the hell to say. Just replace it with, I don't know, their name or something. I don't know. It's just so dehumanizing. It's so weird. Anyways, this is definitely a Vice original. You don't need to, don't worry, get Vice. I'm not going to steal the credit for this one. This is totally produced and developed by Vice here. And you can see the ratio over here: 14 million views, 10,000 replies, and 600 likes. We'll get to the quote tweets in a second. First response: shut the F up. This is Dan Bilzerian, you know, cringe guy, but whatever. I'm so glad whoever wrote this is about to be unemployed in 2 weeks. I feel like if you work for Vice, I don't know, that's a coin flip of a career, man. Like, they're going downhill really fast. Like, they have like 1 or 2 good documentaries a year, and the rest of it is just hot garbage. By the way, guys, just a little backstory to this. The author of this article legitimately has a degree in gender studies. That is not a joke. Christina Boom is a black, lesbian, feminist writer and sociologist. Her work mainly centers on issues of sex, sexuality, race, and gender study. USA right there. Lovely. Can't believe you can spend 4 years on that, but alright. As someone with very low tolerance for racist bullshit, I've managed to write an entire racist article. I've managed to surround myself with white people who are cognizant of their privilege and strive to make the world a less terrifying and frustrating place for people of color. God damn, bro. This means that I often deal with said white people asking me what they can actually do to affect change. So here, anxious allies of the world, if you call yourself an anxious ally, I saw this video on Twitter floating around where basically these white people were going up to random black people and licking their like feet or something as like reparations, which is just... wow, I mean, I don't know how you as a human being, when you haven't even done anything wrong, maybe they're like closet racist or something, but this is apparently for like their ancestors or something. But dude, if you haven't done anything wrong, stop embarrassing yourself, dude. Have some self-respect. So here's 100 simple ways for the change. It's not nearly comprehensive, but it's somewhere to start. Go forth and disrupt our harmful racial paradigm. Wow. By the way, not comprehensive 100 things. Alright. Just because you can't see racism around you doesn't mean it's not happening. Trust people of color's assessment of the situation. The first one I kind of agree with, okay? Just because you can't see it doesn't mean, okay? But I wouldn't trust all colored people or whatever, people of color. But I don't know. Both are offensive, okay? People say one is offensive, one's not. Nah. Both are offensive. Fuck that shit. Don't assume that all people of color share the same views. We are not a monolith, okay? Don't assume or guess people's races. This is not a fun game for us, okay? If someone tells you they're from Uganda, don't say, I went to Nigeria once. Just please. Are these like personal experiences they've had or something? Related. Don't refer to Africa as a country. It's a continent and it's widely varied. I need you. Or something? Related. Don't refer to Africa as a country. It's a continent and it's widely varied. Yes, take a moment. This is just being bad at geography, okay? It's nothing to do with racism here. Okay, number 6. Oh, and rest assured that literally no person of color ever wants you to get back from holidays, show off your tan, and excitedly exclaim, look, I'm almost as dark as you. See, so this is... Who says that? What kind of weirdo says that? Don't assume that a person of color knows everything about their country of heritage. Do you know everything there is to know about America, Germany, Sweden? That's what I thought. It's so passive aggressive. Don't assume that we can run if we're black, do math if we're Asian, have drinking problems if we're indigenous. I like how they say we, as if just because this author may be non-white, they speak for every single other race. What do you mean we? How can you be black, Asian, and like speak for everybody? Shut the fuck up. Regard us as autonomous, unique individuals, not as representatives of our race. Yet you still address white people as a monolith, as a whole. Like, what are you doing? If this list was written for like people of color, as you say, it would be so like racist, right? So how can you do it the other way around? I just don't get that. I don't get that logic at all. Don't make embarrassing jokes to try and be down with people of color. We'll laugh at you, not with you. Don't rinse our culturally specific names. They're ours. Go enjoy that weird one with the plums. See, you're just making fun of them. If you're at my house party, don't turn off the weekend to put on Arctic Monkeys. No one's very specific, but it happened to me once and I'm not over it. The audacity. Is this like the final thesis for the gender studies degree? Maybe there's a race studies degree. There probably is one. I'm making a joke out of it. If I Google it, I'll probably see a race studies degree. At this point, America is just beyond repair. I don't know. Even like, and honestly, the brain damage is sort of seeping to the rest of the world because TikTok is so popular. Yeah, TikTok is everywhere, man. Nobody's safe anymore. Don't say shit like, I know what it's like to be a person of color. I'm a ginger. Okay? Don't question someone's blackness if they're light skinned. It's not your place. Other black people can make sure that light skinned black people are cognizant of their privilege. Bro, you know, I saw that. We had the video on the main channel of that person who was just like, oh, I'm non-binary, so, you know, I can get away with drunk driving. And they just pulled out every card. I'm indigenous. I have social anxiety. I have generational trauma and PTSD. This is kind of the same vein of things here. And that person, honestly, if you asked me to look at them and tell, like, what they are, they're white. Just, like, completely white skin. How am I, like, you definitely don't face racism. Like, if you have all of that, like, dude, I don't know what you're pretending, bro. Number 17, never try and tell a person of color what is or isn't racist. I mean, what if they're bullshit? They're just human beings, man. Anyone can be full of bullshit. Whenever you find instances of racist BS online, don't send it to us. We know racism exists, thanks. Can I send this own article to you, Vice? My god. Read something already written about it rather than coming to friends or acquaintances looking for hot takes on anything. I'm not reading that. Understand that some days are even more mentally exhausting thanks to the news cycle. Try not to badger us for our opinions on the latest atrocity that has occurred. Leave us to grieve. Some people don't pay attention to all this bullshit happening in the media, just saying. But when we have to do something about it, listen. Share articles relating to the everyday experiences of race and racism written by people of color. Are you in? This is completely the opposite of what you should be doing. Which guy said it? Was it Martin Luther King? Was it Nelson Mandela? I don't know who said it. If you want racism to go away, stop talking about it. Stop differentiating all the time, okay? This is literally the opposite of all you do is talk about it. You're just reinforcing the differences between people, dude. But don't be that person who is weird, and you really pulled out the Oxford Dictionary for that one, and loves to demonstrate their wokeness constantly to the people of color around them. Be thoughtful. I will say that is weird. Yeah, but you'd probably be fine with white people licking your feet as reparations, though. To read books by people of color. How about I read books that are good? Same thing. Hire people that are good. You know, watch shows that are created by people of color. Atlanta or Insecure. I haven't seen any of those, don't care. Have a critical eye when watching TV and movies. How are they portraying people of color? Why would I think of this? Why, dude? I'm just here to sit down, relax, watch some TV and movies, not care about that shit. Number 26 is literally what's going on right now, bro. They're trying to interject it in everything. If you go to an art gallery, notice how many works are by people of color. I'm never going to an art gallery, that shit's trash. If a character you assumed was white in a book is portrayed by an actor of color in the movie, embrace it. Whiteness is not the default. Yeah, this is some Snow White shit right here. Support plays written by and acted, just everything people of color. Okay, if you have kids, buy them dolls of color and books with characters of color. How about you buy them the one the kid points at, man? Oh my god. Support crowdfunding campaigns for cultural products created by people of color. Yeah, just blindly support any campaign so that you can get scammed out of your money by bullshit movements once again. If you're upper or middle class, try to moving into an area that has been populated by low income people. What you want people to do, you want Bill Gates to come down for his mansion and go like halfsies with the people down the street. Oh my god. Don't assume people of color can't speak English. Be patient if our English isn't perfect. Are you bi, tri, multilingual? Probably not. It's hard. It's not really a flex. You kind of just know it from birth. Man, I can't believe I'm actually reading this. I don't think I'll get to 100. I think I'm gonna die before that. I'll just do how much ever I can. In general, don't assume you want to be white. Welcome to the Phoenix Boston! I think...
Let's go to the next one.
fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi Leah. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe. And if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. Welcome back. It's so good to have you here. So first of all, my usual disclaimer, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Please do not go searching out anybody that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comment, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So a sister took to her TikTok to tell us her experience on how she used to be whitewashed and she's no longer whitewashed. Very brief video. Let me just go right ahead and play her video.
There's nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world who's also in a friend group with barely any other black women. There's this like no worse feeling, because when it hits you hard. And every weird little interaction that you just justified as being rude, turning out to be racism, makes you question your whole existence.
So yeah, when she made that video, a lot of people were replying. Some people were also talking about how they could relate. I'm just going to go right ahead and, let's play some people's stitches and commentary to her video.
There's nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl.
I remember the episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Ashley came back home from school or whatever. She was like, Mom, Dad, I'm an oppressed youth. It's like Sis said, this isn't a villain origin story. But I know one neighbor showed two neighbors shirt, and I've seen this a couple times growing up in life, right? I know a lot of y'all brothers and sisters who already know about your people. We sit up here talking about, that's them token brothers and sisters. No. They don't know they tokens. Tokens know they tokens, and they like to be tokens. They don't know they tokens. There's a difference. We had to go back in the kitchen because the dog's a little bit too loud. Listen, I've seen this twice, right? One with an African-American sister that grew up in the suburbs, and she was always like the only melanated sister out of her whole friend group. The rest of her friend group was this color, right? The other one was an African sister. I saw when the light bulb went off, right? And tragically, the light bulb went off around the which one was that? Was it Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, or Trayvon? Ooh, there's been so many. Trayvon. Wow, that's a big batch of depression that just came over me, realizing how many of us that I can actually put these situations down on my timelines based off of one of our brothers was slain in the streets. The story continues. I remember this one girl, African American sister. She was just like hanging out with her friends, and she was explaining the whole situation, and you could just see in their face they wasn't getting it, and that's when it clicked in her head, and it was like, oh, I'm not one of you. And I'm just sitting in the background, you never was, sister. You never was. Come back home. There's still time to save you. The African sister was more like just a culture shock. Like it's a whole culture shock. I think she had this idea of what America was, and then when she got over here, it was just like, no, this was not the case at all. I mean, personally, I know everybody's situation is going to be different. I acknowledge that, so on and so forth. I've seen more sisters escape that false reality than I have brothers. Like I've seen sisters like it's like around their mid-20s for some reason, like a light bulb goes off or a switch just flips, and they're just like, you know what? This ain't my scene. I need to refine myself because this is just all wrong. It makes sense because in your mid-20s is when you're really finding yourself and understanding who you are as you want to be as an adult. So that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, I see some brothers come back too, but I've seen more brothers pretty much accept the BS sometimes also. But granted, I'm pretty sure that some out there that have seen the vice versa and so on and so forth, and I respect and understand that. I'm also going to be devil's advocate here and say up front, there's some sisters who never look back. Like, as y'all know, I only date sisters, whether they be from the Caribbean, the motherland, or here in good old America, right? However, and there's the adders besides this. If you a sister and you ain't got no other sisters as like your friends, as in all your friends are this color, I'm talking about ones who don't want to hang out with their siblings, their cousins, anything else like that. They barely talk to their parents. I don't care how fine you are, I really can't date you. But I know a bunch of y'all gonna say, Sam, that sounds a bit weird, bro. No, stop and think about this 1 second. You have a sister of the African American community. All her friends are Caucasian, right? You don't associate with any other sisters on the planet. The planet. Except her mama on Christmas, that's it. And even then, it's some estranged relationship. She never goes to explain about it. To find out a couple months later that it was actually her to be in the problem the whole time, and she really just don't like herself. That's what I'm getting at. That's exactly where I'm getting at. Y'all see what I'm getting at now. I gotta go. I got things to do. Catch y'all later. Bonding off.
There is nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world.
I would love to hear your story time about how you got whitewashed as a black girl, because I don't understand. Because how was this country built? It was built off racism. I don't give a hell what type of white people you hanging around. All white people know racism exists. And it's the fact that you never look within. You always look without. Like you didn't go back and look up your own history. You let somebody else explain your whole history. That's like me telling you how you should run your life. What are you gonna say? Oh, who are you to tell me to? Right, and who are they to try to tell you that your skin color was not oppressed? You're just now finding out about racism. I like to hear a story time about that, because that means you've been running from the truth your whole life. You look through the white people's lens, even though you're black. You can't do that. Just like white people can never look through the black people's lens because they're not black. It goes both ways. So for you to be hanging out with people that kept the truth from you, those are not your friends. Sorry. Those are not your friends. Sorry.
There is nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the...
Yeah, let's talk about this. So I grew up pretty much in honors classes my entire life, middle school, high school, and if you're aware of the achievement gap, you know that there weren't a lot of black people in those classes. Like, we low-key had to fight to be in those classes. I remember even growing up and having counselors just kind of like doubt my intellect about being in these honors classes, but then when I would be placed in basic classes, I would just be bored, and like the teachers would be like, I don't understand like why she's in this class. Like,
First of all, is it not funny that they would doubt her intellect and wonder why she's in those classes? Like, can't black people be geniuses? Can't they be extra smart? Like,
she's like too accelerated to be in this class. So I pretty much was an honors AP student my entire life, and because of that, a lot of my circles were white because these classes had majority white people, and I was pretty much surrounded by white people my entire days. This led me to be in a lot of friend groups with majority white people. I played a lot of the majority white sports like lacrosse, field hockey. I was a swimmer, and yeah, all in all, I was around a lot of white people. Also, like, in elementary school, I grew up in a very white area because we moved, and there was not many black people in my school. Like, there was probably like 3 black people, and not including me, and some of them were like mixed race. So like, I was pretty much the only black person. So being around these white people pretty much all my life, I also felt like I wasn't accepted by my black peers, or like I didn't really feel like I belonged because I felt like, oh, I talk too white, or like I act too white, and you know, all of that. So I struggled with identity a lot growing up. Now in high school, I ended up like having a friend group of these girls, and it was like 4 of us, and I was the only black girl. They were all white, and they would definitely make it like known that I was not one of them. Like, I never felt fully accepted in this friend group. There would be times where like they would make little racist comments, like calling me Little Bill, or like even saying the N-word with the hard R. And at the time, like, I was young, so I would kind of just like laugh that off. I didn't realize how like messed up that was at the time. And yeah, they would say like a lot of like racist things to me. And it's funny because these girls are now like performative activists on social media, and they're all super woke and whatever. But anyways, I will never forget when one of the girls like had a sleepover at her house, and her mom was like we were all hanging out, and her mom basically made me leave and told me like I could not sleep over while the other 3 girls were able to sleep over. And I didn't understand at the time, but as I got older, I realized like that was like low-key racist. She didn't have any sort of excuse of why I couldn't sleep over. Like, there was more than enough room, and they were just like, oh, like we can't have you here, like. And there would just be times where like they would invite like each other on like trips. Like, if one of the girls like parents was going to take them somewhere, it was like when I was included, oh, there's not enough room, sorry, we can't, like, you know what I mean? But all of them were able to go, and I was always the one excluded. So yeah, I just wanted to comment on this because this is like, I feel like this is something that a lot of black girls kind of go through, and it can feel kind of isolating too, because sometimes you might feel like alienated by black peers and not understood. But if you've grown up in a very like predominantly white area or like around a lot of white people, you probably understand.
There is nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the...
Girl, you hit the nail on the head. This was me. And then when I went to college, I decided to study slavery. Not a good idea. And half my family, not biologically, my father that I call is white. So half my family's white, half my family's black. On both sides. Both of my parents interracially married, moved to white neighborhoods, and that was my experience. And then when I started studying slavery, I was probably in my 20s, like hated white people, like hated them. Because I was appalled. You don't learn this in, the white schools, like all this stuff. When you read like Frederick Douglass's book and, all of that. But then I had to just, there's a point in time where you're just like, okay, it's not everybody, not everybody's like that. Some people just don't know any better, that they are being that. It's not an intentional thing. And then others, they are being intentional. But you learn discernment. But yeah, there's this period of like now, we hate you, and I don't know, but that's a good post because there's a lot of us that can resonate with that, and it's a very weird time when you're having to look at things from a different perspective than what you're accustomed to.
That's insane. Let's do that. I can do my face, your face, anyone's face that you want to do.
I had the same kind of reaction and change in orientation when I started researching about slavery and African American history. Not just African American history, basically slavery all over the world and colonialism and stuff like that. You cannot learn that information as a black person and not have a different perspective on how you view non-blacks, because I won't say just white people. It wasn't only white people that enslaved black people, right? Let's go ahead and listen to another reaction.
Nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world.
This is also true for black dudes growing up around a lot of white boys, and you can actually kind of see it when you look at people like Kai Cenat and Shook Speed, who, I'm not taking away from their blackness, but you do often see that they have a lot of racist white fans, and you have a lot of, and I had a lot of racist white friends growing up, and it was kind of something that I had to just sort of deal with if I wanted friends. Like, there was a lot of black jokes I had to deal with. Anytime the lights would go up, they'd be like, Vic, smile!
I dealt with that. Yeah.
We can't see you. And then I just had to deal with that for a long time until when I was in my 20s, I started looking back at a lot of my friendships growing up, and I was like, oh, you're just a fucking racist, aren't you? Like, you're just a bad person who likes to make black people feel bad and then act like it's all love.
Exactly.
Neighborhood is the only black kid.
There's nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the...
Baby sister, I've seen your video be stitched many times. Many. And every time I see a stitch of your video, I am hoping that someone is going to give you the truth in love. And I haven't seen that yet. I'm sure it's out there, but I haven't seen it. So, I'm your big sis. I'm going to give you the truth. And the truth is this. You're too old for this. You really are. You are entirely too old for this. Now, if you were a 13-year-old little black girl, I could see this. Because 13-year-old little black girls are constantly thrusted into violent, anti-black, majority white spaces. And that is hard to navigate. If you were 18, I could see it. Because at 18, you're legally an adult, but in all other ways, you're still a child. And the biggest hurdle that you're facing at 18 is learning to break free and create your own environments, your own spaces. I'm not going to even give you a pass because you're a black woman in what seems to be corporate America. Many of us live that life. I code switch with the best of them. But do you know what I do? When I leave work, I come right on to my black ass home. You are in a position where you can create the environment that you want to be in. And if you are one of the few black women in a majority white woman space that has been violent to you, you are in that space still because of your choosing. You are choosing this space at this point in your life. You are not foreign to us. You never have been. You never have been. We've always been your people. But for whatever story goes behind this video has made you feel like you're foreign. To call yourself whitewashed, you move like that. And if you move like that, then we other black women will code you as foreign. But again, that's on you. That is a you problem. So if you want safer, blacker spaces, you need to get off your black ass and do the work. Unpack your shit. Because right now you're your own worst enemy. So anytime you're ready, come on back to the house. We've always been here. We've never rejected you. And we won't. You've been busy rejecting yourself. And you're too old to be on this app whining about a space that you can walk away from. And I'm saying all of this black woman to black woman in black love. And I hope you process it. Because you do deserve blacker, safer spaces. We all do. But again, you're an adult. It's your responsibility to find them and foster them. I hope you have a beautiful black ass day. From the bottom of my black heart.
Every weird little interaction that you just justified as being rude, turning out to be racist.
And sister, you're not alone. It's us brothers too, who, when we finally have our canon event, and we realize that all the people that were in our circle were fucking racist all along, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Realizing all the racism in the...
I just want to say that I am 4 years removed from whitewashed black girlness, and 1 year into my walks, yes, I went all the way there, black power spectrum. You will get through it. Some of your white friends will stay there, most of them will leave because they were Trump supporters behind your back and you really didn't know it, but you knew it now. Keep going. We got this. We got this. I mean, it's rough out here. It's like your whole world shatters and then gets reorganized and arranged with way more love. So, it gets better. Just keep going.
When it comes to this topic of being whitewashed as a black person, I think people tend to look at it from the angle of, oh, you didn't want to be part of us black people, you rejected your own people, you prefer to associate with white people. But sometimes we also have to acknowledge that it might not have happened by choice. In some cases, it was probably because of proximity, just like some of the people that narrated their stories. They were born and raised in environments where they were, predominantly white people. They didn't have a lot of black people. So definitely you have to make friends somehow, right? And then you end up being with white people. And then when you are friends with these white people for so long, you tend to pick up some of their characteristics, their mannerisms, and then you begin to feel like an outcast within the black community, like you can't fit in with the black people, and it just goes on and on until you get your moment of rude awakening. And yeah, I think for every whitewashed person, except you decide to not see it, at a certain age, there's just something is just going to happen that's going to trigger your rude awakening, for you to understand that, okay, in as much as I might be friends with these people who are not the same, we don't face the same struggles, we don't navigate through life the same way, people are not going to perceive us the same way, we might not have the same experience of life, and that is going to make you have a rethink of the whole thing. And then you now begin to question things that these people have done to you, and you now be like, did they do that to me because they were just being rude, or did they do that because I'm a black person? So I cannot even imagine the crisis, the emotional and mental crisis they go through when they are hit with that reality that, okay, I'm a black person, these people are white, but even though we're friends, it will never be 100% because we're just different. Like, I believe the basis of any friendship or relationship is, you know, the things you have in common. So when your race is different, when your culture is different, when your skin is different, especially in a society like America where everything is built on racism, you know, there's just a level to the kind of friendship you can have with someone who's not of your race. There's a level to the amount of understanding you can have with someone who's not your race. So, and I think like we as black people have to be willing to receive them with open arms when they realize this, because there will always be people that will come to this realization, and they shouldn't feel scared to try to discover their blackness and then get back to the black community and build relationships with black people. So I want you guys to let me know what you think about this topic.
Okay, she's absolutely right, and I'm gonna tell you what's really going on. Sometimes our parents, because they want the best for us, like any other parents will want the best. So they you know, I was raised up like that too. Like I tell many times, you know, I grew up in inner city, went to school was inner city. So sometimes you have people that's inner city, and there were some white kids that was in the city, but it was like very few. And I didn't start really seeing that type of racism until junior high school, and that was my first time to encounter something very racial. And it was just that I didn't really understand it at the time. You know, I know there was the N-word was a bad word, and you just got to put some dukes up and fight. I almost got jumped a couple of times by some white dudes when I was a junior, and luckily someone had to have my back. You know, yeah, it's always been that. And then this was in the early 80s, like 80, 81. So my mother inside the family was raised Catholic, and anybody that's raised Catholic, you know how it really is. My father's side was raised Baptist, so I was mostly time I was around my mother's side of the family, and so she worked hard at one, which is a Packer Electric, which was a division of General Motors. So she made, you know, decent money, and you know, we've always been a working class family. But my grandparents, you know, they were Catholics, and even myself and my cousins who were younger, when we went to CCD, and you know, before you go to church, you go to CCD. I remember being the only black kid. I don't know. I think my cousins probably experienced it too, but white people didn't really don't really want to accept you. But your parents saying, well, how come you're not making friends? Or why don't you need to come out? Is that you do, but they don't want to accept the reality of them being associated with you, because the majority of them are white. And so, and not one of them had a lick of sense to want to step out their comfort zone to be friends with you. That's the truth. That was the case when I went to school. Went to church. So I understand their parents want the best for you. They think that you got some anxiety problems. You're not socialistic enough. You're not social, and they just don't understand. I understand what it's like to be whitewashed, and when you go, and then going back from the city to suburbs, being around majority of the inner city, majority of people is going to be black. You have to go back around, and you know, people, you know, sometimes black people, we got some good and bad elements in our family. You know what I'm saying? You know, we can say some straight out hurtful words to one another. You know, we have an element that think that we're better than one another because someone speak a way of being proper. So but you don't understand that you strong enough to deal with that stuff. Yeah, you know, develop your character. You can crack and cut on each other, and that's just the way it is. And but you at the same time you have to be strong enough to deal with someone calling you dark as crispy, light as the cake, so to speak. But a lot of black people, you don't know their story, and so their parents hear them saying them awful things, and maybe went on in your family. So with your parents, we try to go to the white side for economic reasons, the job reason, the education carry out there. But what you don't know, and you might meet a few good people out there in among some people who are white that are friends. And God bless you if you don't come across that. You find a few hand-selected friends that don't have that mess. But among the hand-selected, they're going to come across something. Your handful of white friends, somebody come among them and would say, when they see you, they're going to say something. They're going to kind of code switch. And they're like, oh, you know, a black, and they do it with body language. White people do this with body language, and they don't know. And sometimes, until later on, they won't directly come because they don't want to look like an asshole in front of their friends. So what they do is that you have to be white. They'll just be like, damn, where'd this come from? When all of a sudden they see somebody that is opposite color succeeding, or they'll make a comment, about this thing with affirmative action, about Herbalife, about an athlete, and he's a black athlete. It's always about that. And you're like, well, maybe that's just a person with a personality. They build up their pressure, they build up their jealousy and their prejudice towards black people. And sometimes your white friends ain't gonna catch. Sometimes they simply Johnson just, maybe Jacob just don't know. He's just jealous. That's all. He just talk about it as well. He just blowing off steam. But it gets deeper. Then the N word comes out among them and they kind of like, dude, why are you saying that the N word? You know, and it resonate with them. And it's always, it may not be in that immediate circle, but it's someone of that in that white community. They know somebody, and when it comes to psychologically with race, some white people won't take a stand. They're scared to be confronted, or they'll try to excuse it. Some will, but most of them won't. But you don't understand this. And then here's this why I said it's a code out there. And I've seen people say some things when I've been the only black person. I can relate to what the black man is saying because I've been that only black person, and I thought this person, and the reason why I went around, because I just see people like people. I never really thought about color. It never occurred to me. But see, sometimes the individuals that you meet, they're struggling with color, and so they'll start making N-word jokes. They'll start in something, and like he said, what I've been a victim of that. Oh, why don't you smile so we can see your teeth? I've heard that joke before, being around some people. Oh yeah, and sometimes what the lady said is true. It's your choice. It's your choice on who you. And finally, I had sense enough to pull away. And like, wow, and well, maybe, and you think that, okay, you won't encounter this in church, because people love Jesus, right? Well, we all God's children. Some people believe in that, but see, Jesus has a certain level. Jesus comes at a certain level because why? I use in the past the image. We're trained to worship the image, not the one of the word. They manipulate that, and so it gives a kind of a superiority thinking. Some people, not all, but some that do. And when in Christmas and certain holidays, you're programmed to think white. but and you don't even know that you is. You're programmed like that. We're programmed to not like something about ourselves. So this is the reason to the black people that don't know. So sometimes when you go out into that environment, in that rural environment in Vermont or Montana or some small town, you're programmed. You're literally programmed. You're programmed to see things as white from suburb. You've been around white people where they eat, the way they socialize, and everything. It's a whole different environment. Trust me. And you can't. And black people that never been around white people, you don't understand this. You work around some white people, and you do what you do. You go home. But you never been around it in the sense that school, church, in different settings. So you don't know the code and the element. So some black people go out there that live among them. They pick up their spirit. They pick up their ways. I've seen it with black people. I've gone to the suburb and they acknowledge it. They just and some of them do pick up. Why? Because they around their friends. They pick up that spirit. And they don't even like being around other people that look like them because they've been programmed. And maybe if some of us, maybe some people wasn't strong enough to know how to, when they cut the dozens on one another, and that could be it. They call it because you were dark skinned or you had some kind of physical learning disability, or because somebody made you feel inadequate, and you thought that going over there is going to be no. That is then in 10 times more because they were trained to see color. There are some among, not every white person, let me say, not every white person thinks like that, but among them they do. Because they're not used to it. They're not used to seeing people of color. And they're not used to interacting with black people. Oh, they see black people on TV, football game, basketball game, actors, whatever. And they may know one black person. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I've told you stories that I did a young lady that was her mom was white, her dad was black. She was raised with the white side of the family. And this is what I tell, with her white mother didn't understand this. That moving her down to a predominantly white town in Corbin, Kentucky wasn't a good idea. And because they see us color. They see the color. And she heard a lot of N-word bombs, and mostly more. In fact, she stayed in the building. That one of her names was a clan wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and it was confirmation by two other people I've talked to over the phone that were white, that were from Corbin, Kentucky. Okay, they were from Corbin, Kentucky, and they told me this personally. And then I had to talk to black people that were from some part of Kentucky and say, yeah, that town used to be a sundown town. And there was some people say, yeah, we got to get up out of it. And one white girl I talked to said, I moved up out of there because they was on some bull crap down there. And see, yeah, this stuff has happened. And like I said, I'm familiar with. So, I say something silly one time. And like, why do we have to have black and have to have white? Because, why is that? I didn't really have the full understanding of it. And it's because it's the environment you're in. Even though you don't quite grasp what racism really is. No one had to thoroughly explain to you to find out as you get older. It ain't teach you about slavery, but it don't go in depth into it. Because they teach you, the school's only going to teach you what they want to teach you, even back at that time. And your parents don't really want to talk about it because it's kind of cliche. But the whitewashing, now there are some black people just straight out ignorant. But it's a very handful of people. But a lot of them don't they don't know. That's why, like, they just, and I understand maybe she didn't know, because sometimes your parents be like, oh, you gotta think positive. Oh, maybe it's something with you, and they program themselves. So mentally, our parents been programmed to think like that. Not that it's wrong that you want to live into a better environment, but when you go out to that better environment where it's predominantly white, there's some consequences gonna come to you out there, or your kids is gonna suffer it if they don't meet the right people. Because subconsciously, racism always is. It's like how we all argue about politics, and I make the argument, people like, oh, Trump is racist. So is Biden. And one was represent Republican, and the other one represent Democrat. What did they have in common? They came from a background. You don't think that somebody among their group that say the N-word? They say Donald Trump parents was in the Klan. Okay. But Joe Biden knew a segregationist. What's the difference? We fighting over two people that even though they don't even like each other, but what difference does it make? It's the same way. And we're programmed to see the good and the bad. Well, he had, and then how they cover it up. With, like, Donald Trump had Benjamin Carson, a few other black people in White House. Joe Biden has elected a black woman, a black general. So we think that's cool, and then they pull out their black friend card. But at the end of the day, I said, what has he done? Now you guys because I'll give you a joke. You see what they do? They mind trick you with this stuff. They mind trick you. It doesn't matter. And one thing we have to learn as a people, some people are going to be indirect racists and direct racists. There are some people, and they're not going to be directly because now it's political. It's too political now. Now they're doing other forms. Racism in America, remember this, always transforms. It transforms systematically, just in the justice system, systematically, educationally, in healthcare. Everything is seen by race. It's a total pole of race. And one thing about the people, like he said, the people of color, because subconsciously, wherever there's a certain demographic of people of country like America and other countries, we're patterned to see things as race. And it's the truth. We don't see by what your origin is. We don't see what your economic status is. One of the few things we always do, what is your race? And it's almost like, what chance of these people getting sick? What is the chance of them people being poor? What are the chances? And this is what they do. They divide us up. The media does the same thing. And what majority of people control the media? I'm sorry, it's white people. I'm sorry, it's the truth. It's the truth. How do we learn all these? How do we learn how to call each other offensive languages? Who started that? What group of people gave announcement to all the different groups of people and called them out their name? Ask any group of people, non-white, what they was called when they were called growing up in America. America taught racism. And you see these at kids. You get Asian, Native Americans, Latino, Middle Eastern, East Asians. Everybody was called something out their name. If you would, even your sexual orientation, your disability. Yeah. America is one of the countries that did it. It was built, it's like racism is like apple pie cake, but it transformed itself. Yeah, we got every race and nationality, but still, you got parts of the country, and I hate to say it, you're going to encounter it. Wherever it's majority white, it's going to be in those pockets out there. That's just the way it is. Why is that, James? Because some people are insecure, and some people just feel like look at the history. Just look at the history. They got to be. Some people have to feel like they have to validate someone that look like them in order to get across. They have to look. The people have to look like them. And even though, and then you'll find out later on, black people, like other people, invented things, but you wouldn't even know it, because when it came to one particular, especially African Americans in this country, there was a stigma was supposed to be going. They wanted to paint the stigma and shiftless, lazy, uneducated, animalistic. This is the way it was. So so they don't want you to believe that black people did that, and we just give them something. They didn't earn it. They don't have the natural ability. This goes into the intellectual thing, and they would take racial studies and study different races of people. Racism in America was one of the places that done that. But they don't want to tell you that you don't know this stuff until you finally get older. That they experiment on different groups of people, like they started with the Native Americans. They experiment on them with smallpox. With black people, they not only gave them smallpox, they did everything possible to get them this experiment. How can they withstand the pain? They don't even want to give you the certain medications to this day. Racism transforms itself, and the people who control it know it. But when you call them out, it's like it's like you turn on a light. They act like a roach. they caught. But yeah, that's what it is. But to my black people, don't be so hard on someone like that. Because sometimes, maybe her parents programmed her to look at life that way. Yeah, and some people do, and they have some self-hatred about themselves, so they're gonna say, I ain't gonna be around these Negroes. I'm gonna go away, and they don't know. They don't know. They don't. And I feel sorry for black people like that. In a sense, because you don't know how she was raised. There's some black people we gotta admit are like that. We have some self-hatred among each other. We got how dark you are. You're gonna get because you're light skinned. Because they didn't look white. Look how the way we program. Who programmed us like this? America did. They did the paper bag test. Knowing that even if they're light skinned, if they still got Negro features, they're going to get called the N-word. They don't care how light you are. Especially racist people. And they know that you are. And they know you got black in your family. That's why you think. Why? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think even if you're non-black? Why do you ever notice that someone? What part of the world you come from? What country do you come from? What people are you come from? You know why? Because some people, particularly those folks, when they get upset, they want to make a name up for you, and they put it on you and they put it on your kid. And the most racist people, this is what they do. They want to put a name on it and stick, and we're notorious for that because they did it with the other European groups. Italians, Jews, Polish, Hungary. It's a racial category. Start with the East Coast, go from east to west with it. We got to just be real with it. We're real with this, and nobody want to talk about it, but it's true. That's why you have the social whitewashing a problem, because the same people got to find another way to put their foot on another people. So at least we ain't like those dark, melanated complected people. Why? Because they were the lower class. Look what they doing. They even program other people to come into this country with that mindset. And so when you a person who was of that ethnic background, you bear the brunt of it. I witnessed this all my life. I've seen it come and transform. That's why I can tell you. Even when I try to go in fellowship with other people, I've seen the prejudice come out of people. I've seen it in church and everything. So just because, and not just everybody say that they love Jesus, don't mean that they love the Lord that wanted to die himself on the cross. They're put on a face in front of you, and but they're transformed. Let the Holy Spirit show you that. I've seen it. That don't mean nothing because I learned that. He went to church. he must be a good man. There's a lot of people that went to church like in other, like they have their own religion, but they have their own bias and prejudice, and it acts out in a different way. And they was taught this in their home, among their friends, among somebody that plant that in their head. That's why you hear kids saying something horrible to another one. They learned that. Either they came from their parents or somebody that their parents was around, their neighbor, and they would sit around having a barbecue, and bam, that's how it started. Then it carries all the way through. That's how racism spread. It's time to fess up. Stop acting like you. Some people need to stop acting like that. They know what it is. They know what it is. And it's up to them to change it. But yeah, black people, yeah. So I can relate to outlet sentiment. I've been around, and the reason why I was around because I thought maybe it's cool to have friends and cool. And I thought maybe he was friend with my friend John here. He can't be too racist toward me. Well, John wasn't around him long enough. I was around that person who was racist, and I saw his friends that was racist. We went to high school. Like I said, I can tell this from experience. And and I said, you don't have to cut people off. I'm not saying, but always have that balance of black people in your life. Always have if you're black, don't dog all your people. That's the message I want to say, because some of the people you go have to go back and return to. I mean, you might not be close as extended family, because I'm like that, but don't dog your people. Not in America. Don't do that. When you turn your back on your own, you're out there alone. Because there are people of other races, handful individuals, might love you as family, but when they get around their friends and family, they're not going to have the same mindset. They're going to be standoffish. I've seen it. So take note to that. And yeah, we got to stop criticizing each other because somebody had our experience. You don't know. You got to see what it caused before you make a cause and effect. All right then, ladies and gentlemen. Don't want to lecture you too long, but I was just explaining what was really going on. I understand in the term of color, they tried to politically correct it. But that's just America. We just have to accept it. Alright then. Until the next time, I hope you like this video. Like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Take care.